are then. Right, I think we're moving. Are we? Get some music up here in just a second. A little bit late today. Ooh, there's too much going on. Ooh, let's put on some Earl Father Hines, shall we?
Well, we're about halfway through this jive concert by Earl Father Hines and his...
No, that's not. That's a short one. Here we are. All right, now we're cooking.
Yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen, Father Hines and his great band playing for you from the new Grand Terrace on Chicago's Great South Side. Get ready now for 30 minutes of super jive in the Father Hines style. Yeah.
Okay, those of you watching on Twitch, okay, it looks like we're up on the Facebook now. All right. Limehouse Blues. I just stayed at the Limehouse Hotel in London a while ago. Let me know in your comments if this is coming up over on Facebook, okay? If anybody's picking me up over there. Evening, Luann. Looks like I'm coming in. Everybody see me okay? You see me under here underneath this person. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Still kind of finishing up dinner. Hey, Linda. Hey, Bridget. Hey, Mary Jo. Hey, everybody. Hey, Karen. Hey, Marie. Timothy, Marcia, Karen, Kimberly, Dillon Country, Minnesota. Hey, Kathleen. Got myself. This is probably way too much scotch.
That's what you call a power.
Try to make it last all night. Evening, Nanette, Marita, Rebecca, Kathleen. Hey, everybody. Welcome along. I'm going to need to fix the volume on this. I can see that already. Let's see here. That should do it. Now we're in the red. Hey, Kathleen. Rebecca, hey, Jeannie. Evening, everybody. Hey, Georgia. Hey, everybody. Oh, that's good stuff. A little bit of La Foire. Just some water for now, really. Thanks to those who enjoyed the talk. Hey, everybody. It was Earl Father Hines. I thought I'd put him on today as I was just listening to... I kind of went deep looking up this Eddie South fellow. Oh, you know what? Alexa, studio lighting. There, that's a little more like it. Hey, Kathleen in the euphonium section. Now, after looking up Club Detour today and then looking up Eddie South, the Dark Angel of the Violin, as they called him, I've been looking him up all day. And so there was a recording of him when a young Charles Mingus with Earl Father Hines. I had to Google around to find it. It's not on. I can't find it on the streaming service. It was Spooky Blues, and it's great. I want to play it on here. Seems like I could get away with it too. Hey Barbara. Hey Deborah. Cats are playing chase over here. Limehouse Blues. I actually got a coaster from the Limehouse Hotel right here. Weird hotel in London. Yeah, they just ate at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Whose Chris Steakhouse is this anyway? It is a great night. Well, later on, I just recorded a punk rock song. It's up on Bandcamp. Hey, Rosemary. From Port Huron. Alright, well, Port Huron is my ancestral hometown. I've actually been there a couple times. Once when I was 3, so I barely remember it. Hey, Katie in Tinley Park. Cats are having some fun playing over here behind me. A quick ember sighting. Miles, you hopping up or what? Here he comes. He's thinking of it. Here, I'll move this over. We got more room. Here we go. Miles is now about to make his appearance. There he is. Hey, Becky and Aurora. Hey, Megan. I snap a cork every time I try to use a cork. There he is. He's been at this all day. Hey, Tom. Hey, everybody. Hey, Lori. Miles. Oh, Miles, you're all wet. He's had a shower lately. He always wants to run into the shower. Okay, have a seat, Miles. Just sit on down. That's right. That's right. Just sit. Okay, I gotta get you your towel. Hang on, everybody. I gotta dry the cat.
As long as we're driving out west here, well, let's stop and have a little Father Hines melody of the Colorado sunset. Jive.
Hey, Vicky. Hey, everybody. Miles loves getting dried. He's willing to get wet so that he can get dried. Is that right, Miles? Yeah. Probably hear him purring. You didn't knock me offline, did you, Miles? Hey, Laura. I always hope Iowa won. I even hope Iowa State won. Whatever. And most cats avoid water. Miles is not one of those. So this guy purr. I hear this sound like possibly Amber's trying to climb up the bag. No, she's right here. Hey, everybody. How did I come up with Miles' names? He was cool as Miles Davis and climbing me like Miles Morales. And then we were watching Into the Spider-Verse and he came and cuddled with me. All through the movie when he was brand new. When he had just come home. Do I miss the old place? There are things about it I miss, but I like my place too. And I love where I'm living. There are lots of good places for cats to climb up around in here too. I do kind of miss the bats. I'd like the fireplace more if it worked.
For the words, we turn on now to the next tune. Earl Father Hines gives us a bit of jive under the general heading
Jeez,
of
Octavio,
So
keep it
Help
safe
Me.
for work, all right? There we are. We're gonna let Earl Father Hines do another number here. Miles, can you please just settle down? There you go. I'm happy to have you flop down here. That's fine. That's fine. But I need you to leave the keyboard open for me, alright? Hey Bill, hey Pat. Snow in the morning. Good, I gotta get on to a flight tomorrow. He's got a couple of days in New York. Get a part-time New Yorker now. I should really look up my, see if I need to renew my sightseeing guide license. Yeah, Gina, that's what I had at my old fireplace, is that, like, plug-in thing. Oh, Emperor, you want to come up here, too? We're going to be drowning in cats here in a second. Here's Ember, the toddler of the house. Alright, I'm verifiably drowning in cats up here now. I move over. Ember, where are you going? There's some cat butt for you. We know what the real show is here. We'll probably be setting up right over here because we got Miles just taking up the whole top shelf over here. I don't think he wants to get down anytime soon. Well, that's all right. Hey, June, hey, Amy. We're gonna let Earl Father Hines finish out this one tune here. And then we'll get started properly. And then I'll get back to work on many things. I have so many projects going at once now, and I like it like that, you know. I really do. Alright, Miles, you getting down? Ready to get down? No, I guess not. Okay. Hey, Laura.
Well, we're about halfway.
All right.
To this jive concert by Earl Father Hines and his orchestra. So now
Okay, I've got to get you down here, Miles. All right.
Grand Terrace on Chicago's south side, where the couples are gaily dancing here in the cool.
All right, this has been Earl Father Hines coming from the Grand Terrace Ballroom in Chicago's Great South Side, where he did claim to have seen Al Capone, but you know every musician had to have a story about old Al Capone. But all right, so what is going on here? I think we were supposed to be like this the whole time. Oh. Sorry, everything's kind of frazzled today, so welcome along, everybody. I'm Adam from Mysterious Chicago Tours. Been a tour guide and historian here in Chicago for over 20 years now, author of such books as Graceland Cemetery, Chicago Stories, Symbols, and Secrets. Also, Murder Maps USA, H.H. Holmes, The True History of the White City Devil, The Smart Aleck's Guide to American History, and Mysterious Chicago, the book. Well, all right, everybody, so welcome along. So this particular presentation is one that I do, maybe once a year or so. It's kind of a cult classic around here at Mysterious Chicago. This isn't one of the ones that I get a lot of numbers for or anything. It's never like the biggest viewerships or the biggest donations, but it is kind of a cult classic. The people ask about this one more than probably any other tour, so it's a very popular one. This is called The Shooting Showgirls. These are stories of people who tried to parlay front-page notoriety, usually from either a divorce or a murder case, into launching a career on the stage with varying degrees of success. Now, if you want to see success on the stage, look up a clip. Recently, Sir Ian McKellen just performed a monologue from Sir Thomas More, which is some Shakespeare apocrypha. There's like one of the hands in it, the D hand, is usually believed to be Shakespeare. He just does it willy-nilly, credits it's to Shakespeare without any footnotes or anything. It's punk rock. It's also a fantastic monologue. But all right, so let's just show a little clip here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Chicago Theater is proud to announce a first. The first time anywhere there's been an act of this nature.
Here's why I can't monetize this.
Not only one little lady, but two. You've read about them in the papers, and now here they are. Chicago's own killer dillers, those scintillating sinners, Roxy Hart and Val McCully.
I think this is much more elaborate than any of the shows that actually took place in these situations. Now, these two these two characters in the musical Chicago were usually said to have been based on Beulah Annan and Belva Gardner, a couple of women who were accused of murder in Chicago back in the 1920s. It was really a thing in Chicago in the 1920s. It was a long-running case. There were a lot of women reporters at the time, and one thing they really harped on was the fact that women never seemed to get convicted for murder. My favorite case is Clara Hark, who got the jury to rule that her mother had shot herself in the head 3 times. So this comes up quite a bit in the press, these kinds of stories. The show is not entirely based on truth. A woman is hanged in it. No woman was ever hanged in Chicago. It began as a play written by one of the Chicago journalists and featuring a lot of Chicago characters. Everybody knew who most of these people were. But this has been a long-running case that a lot of people who made these front-page cases tried to parlay it into stage stardom. Beulah and Belva actually did not, but other people did. So we're going to go back a little bit before that era first and start with one of the oldest and saddest graves in Graceland Cemetery. This is, it just says Mama's grave here. That is for Mrs. Helen Carter. Helen Carter had a son named Leslie who was buried in that plot, and Leslie married a woman named Carolyn Carter. Well, later she was Carolyn Carter. And they ended up having a very scandalous divorce case. This was at front-page papers everywhere. Each was kind of accusing the other of infidelity. She was accusing him of having requested what newspapers called a crime against nature or an unnatural act. Without spoiling, it wasn't that bad. Come on. But this ended up being on the front page everywhere. You're going to have to read between the lines to tell what they're sometimes talking about. Carolyn begged and begged not to have to describe some of these things. The judge insisted that she did, and then the newspaper said, well, obviously she must be guilty or she wouldn't even be talking about things like this. Never mind that the judge had made her talk about things like this. And eventually the courts ruled against her. She didn't end up really getting any money out of this, but she did decide to parlay it into a stage career. Now, the newspapers always just called her Mrs. Leslie Carter, as was kind of the style at the time, that they always just called the women by Mrs., their husband's name. So she was in the papers all over as Mrs. Leslie Carter, and since she was so well known as that, she took that as a stage name. Some even say that this was her revenge, that she would steal Leslie's name even after the divorce. So she started out just operating in a theater in Brooklyn, kind of working the kinks out in the smaller towns, you know, but was actually remarkably successful. By all accounts, she was very good as an actress, and under that name, Mrs. Leslie Carter, she pretty soon had graduated onto Broadway. And then it graduated on beyond that, and then she was in silent films. And then long after Leslie Carter was dead, and she was usually just going by Leslie Carter, not even the Mrs. anymore, was appearing in like old lady roles in westerns. I used to have a clip of that someplace. It seems to have disappeared on me now. But she was still appearing in films like all throughout from the vaudeville era all the way into the talkies. Well, let's move on a little bit up to 1902. We're going to talk a bit about Florence Burns, another New York case. Now, Florence Burns is what they used to call affluenza, kids who had grown up rich with too much money and not enough to do with it, and ended up getting in trouble. So she was the girlfriend of a guy by the name of Walter Brooks. Here's Florence herself. Now, one day, while they were dating, they found Walter dead in a hotel room. He had been shot to death. This is Bedford Avenue where they lived. They called her the Belle of Bedford Avenue. She was a young socialite. So her boyfriend was found shot in a hotel room, but no revolver was ever found. Now, there was a comb found in the room that Brooks said was definitely Florence's. Like, who really knows their son's girlfriend's combs all that well? The evidence here was really quite shaky and circumstantial. So this became one of those trial of the centuries things, a very early case of putting photographs into a newspaper. They'd only been doing this for about 5 years at all at the time, and it was still pretty unusual to see a crime scene. But this ended up being, they decided that she must have done it, and then further found out that Walter Brooks was naked when he was found shot. All the papers had to say that Walter was found in the nude. It sold papers then, too. So she was prosecuted in court by a guy by the name of William Travers Jerome. He ended up being the district attorney in more than one of the cases that we're going to be talking about here. But she was eventually exonerated on the grounds that they just really didn't have enough evidence to convict. So shortly thereafter, she decided to make her theater debut, appearing at eventually the Hyde and Berman place. But this got ticked off a lot of people. Hyde and Bayman's, this was the Chicago version of Hyde and Bayman's that was set up in the old Iroquois Theater. Now, this was this really annoyed the actors who were more professional, that she was going on stage, she was getting big billing. This was stunt casting. This was just a stunt to get people into the door. But Florence Burns' act causes a strike. Some of the other actors actually quit rather than going along with any of this. But really, she just appeared at Hyde and Bayman's singing a song called Gracie Brown Was a Sly Naughty Girl. I've never found the entire song, but there is a little bit of it here. We can just make up a melody. Gracie Brown was a girl with a naughty wink, was Gracie Brown. She wore a straw hat and a dress that was pink, did Gracie Brown. She lived in a village where boys were few, but the boys that were there had hearts that were true, and now they all sigh with a tear in the eye for Gracie Brown. Gracie Brown, she is out of town. She's the kind of girl that is hard to find, is Gracie Brown. We're all blue and we sigh for you. If you change your name, we will know you the same as Gracie Brown. That's all I got. I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. She wasn't scared, but she also couldn't sing. And by all accounts, she was really bad at this. I might have just done it better than she did right there. Burns' girl's debut as vaudeville star proved a dismal and pitiable failure, looked upon as a freak. This is the thing about stunt casting. People generally see it as a stunt. A couple of years later, she was arrested for extortion and did go to jail for that. We're just going to move just about 2 years up in history to another case that's basically an influenza case, or was talked about as such at the time. This is Nan Patterson, who was a chorus girl, and it was called the Florodora Sextet. I think we have a clip of that. 8-person dance. This is from a movie about one of the other people we're talking about tonight. Person dances, the octets. Pretty big deal for a while. I believe that's Dan was in a sextet. That's enough to torture you with that. But one day, Nan, of that who was a part of that routine, was out with a guy named Caesar Young, her boyfriend, who also happened to be married, and he ended up being shot while he was in that cab. The most obvious thing was that Nan had shot him. So she was put on trial, and in this case, William Travers Jerome was once again the DA. And in this case, there were multiple trials. There were actually 2 hung juries, one because the jury couldn't decide, and one because one of the jurors had a stroke. Now, the gun she had used had been sold at a pawn shop, and the pawn shop said he sold it to a couple who looked like Nan's sister and brother-in-law. But that couple then vanished. The angle of the shot seemed to be wrong for suicide. But then when they came to the 3rd trial, once again, William Travers Jerome, they found her sister and her boyfriend. So they brought them in, but the pawnbroker looked at them and said, well, I couldn't really say for sure. This happens quite a bit. So the defense believed that what was happening in that cab was that Nan was threatening to shoot herself. Caesar grabbed for the gun. They both reached for the gun. The gun accidentally went off, and he ended up being shot. This is the kind of thing that was known to happen, and eventually she was acquitted, which freed her up to go on the stage. So, after all of this begging, after all of this time, making news, having her picture all over the papers for what she's eating for Thanksgiving and dinner, which was oxtail soup, turkey stuffed with chestnuts, tomato sauce, stewed tomatoes, cranberry sauce, mince pie, ice cream, coffee. I'm in, but where's the mashed potatoes? She was eventually set free and decided, of course, to go on the stage. Let's take a look at this ad over here at the Nesbits. For Decoration Day, George H. Harris presents Nan Patterson and Big Musical Company in the melodious, fantastical comedy A Romance of Panama. Now, this was a touring burlesque show at which she just kind of sang a couple of songs at the end. She'd already been in the Florodora Sextet, so she had some theatrical experience, but by all accounts, she was kind of meh. And the show was banned in several places anyway on account of the fact that it was just too scandalous. Also, I'm sure everybody is watching over on the right-hand side here for every woman is interested and should know about the wonderful Marvel Whirling Spray, the new vaginal syringe. If you don't know, now you know. So Nan's show, by all accounts, was second class, as seen here in the burlesque Romance of Panama. All right, well, okay, I'm getting enough people wondering about this ad. We'll zoom in on it a bit. Now, some of these stories also come up in the After Hours tour, like the Mrs. Leslie Carter one. I'll just let's just see that. I'll check in at 44 East 23rd Street on Saturday and see if anything's going on over there. How about that? Sure. All right. So eventually she wrote a whole thing for herself for a Sunday pull-out magazine of the Wichita Daily Eagle. This was probably in several Sunday pull-out magazines. But she was kind of driven from the stage by the scandal, by people who thought it was just disgraceful that somebody would parlay front-page notoriety into something like this. So she eventually quit and had some strong words for other people. It just kind of disappears. But in 1921, she was accused of assault. Do you hear the thunderous footsteps back here? That's the cats like playing Horse Stampede. It's their favorite game. But that Florodora video we just saw was from a movie about another Florodora chorus girl, Evelyn Nesbit. Evelyn Nesbit was also known as the Gibson Girl. She was the person in all of the Charles Dana Gibson portraits for a while. Kind of the turn of the century, the very ideal of what was considered the height of feminine beauty at the time. I think she's still pretty in a very contemporary way in some of these pictures. So in 1904, she wed a guy by the name of Harry Thaw. Now, Harry Thaw was absolutely awful. In her autobiography later on, she paints a really grim portrait of Harry Thaw. But the thing is, by that time, she had already had what would sometimes be described as an affair with the architect Stanford White. Stanford White really liked chorus girls, especially the ones who were in their early teens, as Evelyn was at the time. He famously took her up to see his etchings at his townhouse in New York, and when she woke up after having been drugged and having been, well, you can fill in a lot of the blanks there. It's remarkable how many books of people say, oh, it didn't seem like she did anything she didn't want to do. So, one night at Madison Square Garden while she was performing in the Florodora Sextet, Harry Thaw found out about this and murdered Stanford White. This became a part of the film The Girl in the Red Velvet Swing.
The world was shocked breathless when America's richest playboy, Harry K. Thaw, walked to the table of Stanford White, America's most renowned architect, and shot him dead with a solid gold revolver.
Did solid gold make a very good gun? Was he in fact the man with the golden gun?
Because he ruined my wife.
Few persons knew exactly why he did it, but nearly everybody knew over whom he did it. She was the model for the most famous picture Charles Dana Gibson ever drew. She was the most beautiful Florodora Corrine, the girl who had risen from penniless model to mistress of $40 million. She was Evelyn Nesbit.
Also appears in the film Ragtime as kind of a ditz.
Starring Ray Milland as Stanford White, Joan Collins
Where's the mustache?
as Evelyn Nesbit, Farley Granger as Harry K. Thaw.
I'm going to move heaven and earth to prevent this marriage. I'm going to drag out details of his past that'll make the Sunday supplements blush. I'm going to prove he's not fit to marry any girl.
Evelyn's sin was that she loved the man she couldn't marry, married the man she couldn't love.
If you kissed me, I'd like it very much.
There should still be like violin swells like that when people kiss.
At the horse show, the best seat. What is he, the Sultan of New York?
Legal giants backed by huge family fortunes slugged it out in an era of raucous glamour and...
Now, often the world coverage from this is said to be the origin of the term sob sister for women newspaper reporters, but I've checked and checked and I can't find it.
So
Nobody ever
excerpts from the evidence became a bestseller.
like cites the actual specific article that it was used in.
True life love drama of the century, a story unique in the annals of crime and passion.
Feel like we saw all the good parts there. So this became a really big story. It was one of the early crimes that was called the crime of the century. It being 1906, it was awfully early to be making that kind of a claim. But they took pictures of all of these people. This was a fairly early time when these could actually become photographs, though the world had been covering people like Johann Hawk and H.H. Holmes for quite a while. This was Old Man Pulitzer's paper. They were known for their sensationalism, for sure. They're not like a lot of these papers, they weren't as bad as people think if you ignore the Sunday pullout magazines. So once again, the prosecution, William Travers Jerome. So this was put on trial for the trial of the century. Ended up being, there were like plays and films about it before the trial was even over. And shortly thereafter, naturally, already having been a chorus girl, Evelyn Nesbit decided to go on stage. She returned to the stage about 5 years after all of this, and was in things like a film called Redemption. That was a starring role. I think that is now lost. And eventually came to danced in a show called What Women Want, as seen here dancing. And actually appeared at the Old Colonial, the former Iroquois Theater in Chicago. It was the site of one of the very deadly fire in 1903. She performed there. She performed at the Auditorium in Chicago in November of 1913. At that time, she was just doing a song called Hello Ragtime, a dance in a song called Hello Ragtime. See, by the end of this, she was really just kind of last year's news, kind of buried in... Her name is on here someplace. That was Eddie Foy. Here's the auditorium where she performed. But she was really just kind of there for people who could go there to satisfy their curiosity as much as anything else. And there is a clip of her singing about 25 years after all of this.
Evelyn Nesbit. made me smile. Gee, I haven't been so happy in a long, long while. Because I've got a big load off of my mind. Got the paper sealed and signed. And the judge was mighty kind all through the trial. So this ends a 5 years war. And I'm missed as just once more. So I can come when I please, go when I please, fly good and flutter like the birdies in the trees. Because I'm no man's mama now. I can say what I like, do what I like. I'm a dame that's on a matrimonial strike, which means I'm no man's mama now. You know, folks, I've just realized how a fellow must feel when he's getting out of jail. And I've got to invest in my apartment, but take it from me, one of them's up for sale. Am I making it plain? I'm never drag around the line, ball and chain, because I'm no man's mama now.
All right, let's move down a little ways here. Oh, let's go up to New York. You see, one of my very favorite buildings in New York. There are a lot of questions about this on the tour guide exam in New York. This is the Ansonia Hotel. This place had sea lions in the fountain. There was a farm up on the top, so everybody got free eggs. Babe Ruth lived there for a while at the height of his powers, or at least his suitcase lived there anyway. It was built by a guy by the name of W.E.D. Stokes, William Earl Dodge Stokes, the genius behind the place. Now, he dated a woman by the name of Lillian for a while, but then was also dating somebody named Ethel. This is Lillian Graham. This is Lillian Ethel Conrad, kind of facing each other. I feel like they're about to start singing Loathing from Wicked right here. Their hats are both really very smart. So, these two got up the idea that they should blackmail W.E.D. Stokes with some letters that he had sent over to Lillian. They ended up shooting him eventually. And after shooting him and after being acquitted of it, they decided to go on stage. Naturally, they went on to Oscar Hammerstein's Oscar Hammerstein's son Willie built this theater. His son managed it. He was known kind of for freak acts. Oscar II, his brother, was that Hammerstein of Rodgers and Hammerstein. So this is basically Oscar Hammerstein's no good brothers theater, who brought on people like the shooting Showgirls, Lillian Graham and Ethel Conrad, who showed up to play that mysterious rag after being freed as the shooting Showgirls. So they went and performed that mysterious rag and presented their idea of dancing. Some spectators laughed, a few hissed, and there were catcalls. Here's a little bit of the song. Don't I have the sheet music for this right around here? I believe I do.
Did you hear it? What? Were you near it? No. If you weren't, then you've yet to fear it. Yes. Once you've met it, well, you'll regret it. Why? Just because you never will forget it. If you ever wake up from your dreaming, screaming, eyes gleaming, then if suddenly you take a screaming hit, that's it. That's what? That mysterious rag. While awake or while you're slumbering, you're saying, keep playing that mysterious rag. Are you listening? Yes, keep listening. Look, they're whistling that mysterious rag. Sneaky, ever melodious, mysterious rag.
All right. So we're going to have to move over to Beulah Binford. You just don't meet a lot of people named Beulah anymore. That's not really a name that's made a comeback. But in 1911, Beulah, age 17, had been the off and on-again girlfriend since she was 13 of a guy named Henry Clay Beatty. She had his baby when she was 15. He was given up for adoption and lived only a year or so. Now, at 17, Henry was married to somebody else. But they reconnected, and Henry decided to shoot his wife to death in a car. So this was initially considered really mysterious, but then they figured out what had happened, and Beulah was never really written of in connection to this. But she was considered a suspect briefly, never actually held. There was a hairpin of hers, but she was always in the news as the other woman in the case. She was the reason why the shooting had happened. Never actually called the trial, but she was slammed in the press, made front page news, and of course, decided to go on to vaudeville because of it. So, for this here. Professional Women's League. If this girl is permitted to go on the stage, it will be even worse than the sight of those dreadful shooting showgirls giving their shocking performances in vaudeville. I thought the time had passed when the sort of thing when Nan Patterson was hissed off the stage, but it seems it hasn't. All I can say is there should be a law passed to prevent such a thing, a law that would protect the people, the stage, and the poor girls. Won't somebody please think of the children? How about this for a law that you can't go on stage if you figure in a front page tragedy? Tricky. Sold rights to CBS. So she did go on stage, had a few lines in something called Grandma, made a silent film at one point, but the silent film is now lost. So by all accounts, her stage career did not exactly take off. We're going to move on to one that I've been running into this quite a lot lately. Like all through 1926, the same time Al Capone was in the news, these two were also in the news. This is Peaches Browning, who was 15 when she met Edward Daddy Browning, the guy that she married and called Daddy. She was 15. He was a 51-year-old real estate developer. She wrote and called him Daddy, very modern in a way. But then she started always calling her a silly goose. He got her a goose or something. He kept a honking goose in the bedroom, would always tell her to stop being such a goof. He liked to dress up like a sheik. He was always giving her baby dolls. You can see a lot of kinky stuff going on behind the scenes in this one. But he was a major publicity hound, always taking her out to be photographed, always meeting weirdos with her and everything. So she was only married to him for about 6 months before leaving, October of 1926, right when a lot of Chicago gang stuff was really heating up. The same week that the Chicago gangsters were having peace conferences over at the Sherman Hotel, Peaches Browning and Daddy were also in the news quite a bit. But once again, this guy, 52 years old and jumping over and people playing leapfrog with people. Just say again, this guy is 7 years older than I am now. We'll also see the picture back here, like that shot and that shot down below. 5 or 6 years older than me currently. So Peaches, as she was known, got a separation but no alimony. You couldn't get a divorce in New York at the time unless there was adultery. And in the trial, she did say that his hands have not had intimate relations with soap and water in a long time. So she went on the vaudeville stage, she sang, danced, and did a little monologue. The song was called When Flaming Youth Marries Bitter Old Age. Now, later on, she had an affair with Milton Berle. We'll see a little bit of this is where the Rainbow was in Chicago. It's up here on Clark, right by St. Boniface Cemetery. And there was a movie that she was in. I don't think this one survives. The Ritz Review, a movie-toned talking comedy starring Peaches Browning. By 1934, she was still appearing in The State and Lake. At least at the first show, about 1 p.m. in person, Peaches Browning, 25 cents. Then she was at the Congress Theater. Also, Johnny Weissmuller was showing up in a movie. Now, by 1954, there were just these articles, hey, remember Peaches Browning from that era of beautiful nonsense? 1934, she'd married Bernard Hines, a wealthy New York theater manager. Then husband number 3, husband number 4 in 1946. Now, by this time, she was talking about, getting back out there, getting herself a television career, but she died not too long after this. We'll move on a bit. There's also Violet Valley. Comes up in a few of these different stories around here, so I kind of go through it quick. But this is she was what they called a baseball Annie. At one point, there were managers of both the Cubs and the White Sox that had affairs with Violet Valley back in the day. But she really fell hard for Billy Jurgis, the shortstop, back in the 1930s. And one day came up to the Hotel Carlos. That's actually still standing. It's residential now. I don't think you can just stay there. It's right near Wrigley Field. A convenient place for a ball player to stay. And since she found her love unrequited, she decided the thing to do was go into his room and shoot at him. So she shot Billy and then tried to shoot herself, but didn't do a very good job in either case. Billy decided not to press charges, just wanted to make the whole thing go away. And that's what he did. So she ended up appearing at the Congress Theater, which was to be right about where the library is now. Not the same as the current Congress Theater, which is out in like Bucktown. The Bucktown-Logan Square area would have been down over here by the Congress Hotel. But here she appeared in a thing called The Bear Cub Follies, a screamingly funny burlesque production. I wish we knew more about what went on in this. She said that she had love letters that would have absolutely wrecked him. And because of his injury, he missed the World Series, I believe, where Babe Ruth famously called his shot. And I maintain he did, in fact, call his shot. It was the kind of thing he was known to do. And Lou Gehrig described him as having called his shot on the radio like days after it happened. We'll also cover the one from right towards the end of all of this. You know, I hadn't put all this down, I guess. Hold on a sec. All right, so once again, over here at the Congress Theater, there's a woman named Dorothy Pollock. Dorothy, I'm losing a lot of things here, shot at her husband when he came after her with a knife in 1932 here in Chicago. Now, she ended up killing him. She had been dating Dingbat Oberta, one of the bigger Chicago gangsters that we needed to go dig deeper on here one of these days. So she pleaded self-defense, and as she went on trial, she just worried, what am I going to wear? And talked quite a bit already of having her stage ambitions. She was defended by W. O'Brien, who was shot at the same time as Jaime Weiss in front of Holy Name Cathedral, and was clearly the inspiration, according to everybody who saw the show and knew him, clearly the inspiration for Billy Flynn, the lawyer character in the show Chicago. Now, he was the one who counseled her to be photographed praying a lot, really clean up her act, make her seem like, you know, the nice girl next door who certainly couldn't have wanted to kill her husband. It must have been self-defense. And it worked. The widow Pollock was accused of murder, was acquitted, so she too went on to the Congress Theater along with her cousin. So after slaying her husband, got $1,000 a week. She was performing in a show called The Smith & Wesson Follies, really skirting the boundaries of good taste here. Dorothy Pollock, the courtroom beauty in person. All right, once again, didn't really catch on to the kind of a stage career that was going to last for years, but well, she didn't get booed off the stage, at least as far as we can see. But all right, everybody, so those are the tales of the shooting showgirls. I want to thank everybody for joining me. You can all see down here where these donate buttons are if you want to help me keep the lights on. We do this all the time. I've got to get I've really got to get tomorrow's Patreon post up, in fact. Tomorrow is the serial killer tier. And I've been a couple hours late on posts a few times lately, but they always come up sooner or later, and I'll get next week's started up right now, too. Next week, we're going to be continuing the story of Hortensia Black, who was just involved in one weird story after another. Her husband defended the Haymarket anarchists in court. This week, we have talked about how she predicted that God would destroy Chicago if we did not stop the stockyards. Next week, we're going to talk about how she figures into the case of Sterlata Stiles, one of our 1880s brothel murder cases. Sterlata herself also was rumored to be going onto the stage, but I couldn't find evidence that she did, so she's not in this presentation. So thanks, everybody, for joining me. We're going to put Earl Father Hines back on, and we'll just hang out like we always do. So thanks for joining me, everybody.
Number 9, add to it a little of the effervescent swing of Father Hines, and you have...
All right, thanks,
Light a
everybody.
Moonlit Stream.
Softly, the tropic breeze is blowing, through eyes with love light glowing, beside a moonlit stream. Faintly, the waterfall is singing, loving arms are clinging, beside a moonlit stream. My heart is a tom-tom.
I have got to get the humidifier going in this place.
If this is only a dream, then why can it last forever, darling? The river
I haven't seen The Natural in a long time.
you are mine completely.
I saw it when I was a kid. I haven't really seen it since. Hey, Miles. I've got to get packed and pack things up in here. Good job, Critter Keeper. Thanks for that. Oh, and I promised you guys, speaking of the Ice Stormtroopers, I'll just pull up briefly. I do have a new punk rock song I'm putting out for Bandcamp Friday tomorrow. It is up now. It's language warning, but it is called When They Go Low, You Go Zero Fucks. Here's the link in the chat. My y'alls. You just heard me do the vocals 7 or 8 times today. Sarah, that would be fun. The Mysterian of the Week.
Now comes up
Thanks, Deborah.
number
Miles,
8
careful on the
our
keyboard there,
program
okay?
A tune titled, melodically,
Be
A
yourself,
Little Kiss
Bob.
at Twilight.
Good night, everybody. Happy cat. You a happy cat? You sure are. You're gonna get a little better shot of your face there. There you go. All right, so I've still got to read. I got the typed biography of Lawrence Hammond of the Hammond Organ Company. And I got a copy of a One-Way Ride, a 1931 gangster book that really just looks like it's rehashing newspaper stuff. I don't think there's any new data in there. Hey, everybody. Look at this guy. Aww. keep it up a couple more minutes here. But I got much to do tonight. Much to do. Just thought of one thing I got to do, in fact. Hey, Caps.
Down the groove now, we rather imagine you'll hear that famous 7 brass of Earl Hines in Bambino.
Good night, Lori. Oh, Miles. Miles, I see a great shot. Ember, do you want to come up here too? Ember's not really into being held as much. I bet I can make her learn to like it. She doesn't sit still long enough to be held most of the time. She'll curl up by me like teddy bear style at night. Well, all right, everybody. From me and Miles, thanks everybody for joining me. No Find a Grave tomorrow because I'm going to be up in the air, but I'll try to get something going on Saturday and Sunday. We'll be back on Monday for, of course, from Real Monday. And more tours coming up. I should also have a link to this week's Al Capone talk coming up pretty soon. And a book based on that before too long. So, always stuff going on around here. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, stay strong.